My name is Jason Miller, founder of AAspennow Solutions, and we're about to unlock the power of ServiceNow. I'd like to start off by thanking all 2,420 subscribers in over 80 countries globally. If you believe in transferring knowledge to those who need it most, please click subscribe. Your user data will not be transferred to anyone outside of AAspennow without your consent. Today, what we're going to be discussing is how to create a record producer with just a couple of clicks. So, a lot of people, when they start off creating a record producer, they're going to come to record producers. So if they were to type in, I don't know, sometimes they'll just type in RD space PR, and then record producers will come up, and then they'll come in here and they'll click new, and then they'll start building out the variables, and they have to map them back to the fields and all that stuff. But today, what I'm going to show you how to do is something a little bit easier than creating a record producer from scratch. So as we know, record producer, what does it do? It's kind of like a link between the back end and the front end. It's a way for our users to go out on the portal and submit an incident, problem, or something for a custom application, or whatever it is. That we want them to submit on the front end, and then the data will be pushed to the back end. It's a pretty good solution that's set up. I have to say, ServiceNow did a pretty good job with setting the stuff up. I made a remark though in a couple of videos, I think previous to this one, that like they didn't have like an alignment between like fields and variables. Just remember, variable on the catalog side, field that's going to be on what we would call the back end, or what we see here as developers, or anyone that doesn't interface with solely the front end. They're going to be dealing with the front end people, meaning like our customers are going to be dealing with variables, and we're going to be dealing with fields. So the first thing we're going to do today, and the remark I made was like there was no alignment between the two. However, I'm going to part of the solution is actually going to align the two, the fields and the variables. So we're going to go to tables, and you're going to have to be an admin to do this stuff. And one thing I wanted to note is that, yeah, I'm in a domain separated environment, so I'm going to be working in top. For all of you that are in a single tenant environment, not a problem. It's totally cool. You can implement the solution also. Just if you're in a domain separated environment, the level of complexity does go up exponentially. At least that's what I feel. So I'm going to create a table, and I don't know what I'm going to call it. So I'm going to call it, I don't know, Aspen RP or something like that, record producer. And then we're going to say, what's the name on this? Okay, auto-populate stuff for us. And I'm going to extend the task table because I want some of the fields coming down. Module, we're going to create, be over here at the menu in a little bit. I'm going to go to controls. Sure, I'll let it be extensible. I want to auto number it. I don't know if I like that. Maybe I'm going to call it AARP. No, just kidding. We can't do that because maybe we'll just do Aspen. And then it's like we got our numbering system starting here. We don't have to create access controls. We could create separate ACLs to say because it extends task. Just say, all right, use ITIL or something like that. But I'll create the user role. We'll just argue in this example that one of the requirements is that we need a new user role. And we're going to see here, it's going to be accessible from all application scopes. Great. And also keep in mind, I'm in the global scope right now. I'm sure we could have a nice little debate about, okay, dude, can we create it in its own custom app, or can we create in global? To me, just for demonstration purposes, it's not really going to matter. So we're going to hit save. And now what we're going to see is, in a matter of moments, hopefully we're running at a good pace today. All right, so right now I've created the table. We're going to go to our columns here. We'll see that everything from task has pretty much been pulled down. And I'm going to create a couple, but the way I'm going to create them is not really by clicking new right here, because that's kind of the slow way. The fast way is to go to, let's go to our form layouts. And it's probably going to, the default view is probably going to be, or will be, I should say, Hopefully this works. If not, then I'm going to, okay, show form. Let's try that. There we go. Now it's moving us. Now what I'm going to do, it looks like that UI action wasn't working for some reason. So now I'm going to go to configure, form layout, and that's our new record view. And the way I add fields or create fields is I'm going to come right here and just crank out a couple. Even if I don't want them on the form, I'm still going to create them here. So let's see here. The first thing I'm going to create is string field, and I'm just going to call it number. And it could be any sort of quantifiable type of number. So I'm going to make it integer. Great. I'm going to add that there. Now I want to do a string field, or so we think. Maybe it won't be a string, but we'll see here. All right, so now I'm going to do a string field. I'm probably going to make this like a medium, and our string field is really going to turn into a choice. So if you remember, there were a couple of videos there where I showed you how to make a reference field look like a choice field, etc. I think I did 2 videos on that. So for our string field here, I'm going to, I don't know, I'm just going to make something up here. I'm just going to call it like request urgency. I don't know, you're probably like, there's already an urgency on this table, but I'm going to make one that's unique here, and I'm going to show you how to, change this one right here into a choice field, even though it's a string. And true or false, the priority field on the task table, is it a string or a choice? I'll let you think about that one. You can go look it up for yourself. Okay, so now I have request urgency, now I have number, and now I'm going to do like a, I don't know, like a reference field here. Let's just say, do reference. Now it's going to tell me, okay, which table do I want to reference here? And let's see, what are we going to do here? Let's just do sysuser. I'm going to call this like Aspen requester, right? Okay, I'm going to add that there. And then I'm going to add, okay, so I'm actually going to change that probably to solution number, do request urgency, and then let's see here, what else do we want to do? Yeah, I think that's good for right now. We just add 3 fields. And then if I want to, I can also define the form while I'm at it. Like, let's say I want to get rid of this. Let's say I want to do like location. Maybe I want to know where they're at. Be assigned to, I don't know, are we going to assign, are these going to be assignable? Maybe. I think I'm going to get rid of priority. I'm going to get rid of parents. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these 3, just scoot them on up. Let's see here. I don't know, just put them there. I'll probably put requester up here, and then that'll probably be their location or whatever. Okay, so I think we have a good, like, working, whatever it is, prototype or whatever we want to call it here. I'm going to get rid of this. All right, short description and work notes. This looks fine. Anything else I need? Maybe I want the additional comments in here. We can do comments and work notes. Maybe that'll be redundant, but whatever. All right, so I think we're okay now. All right, maybe work notes list. I don't know. We'll see how this turns out. Maybe it's a big mess. All right, so now we're going to create a form. We created fields also, so the fields are there. And now, all right, we can take a look at all this stuff. Great. Now what we want to do is just go back to our table, right? Because we got to take care of these fields that we created, like Aspen requester and stuff like that. So see here, Aspen, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort this by create and make it a little bit easier so these 3 just line up. So I'm going to do boom, 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 right? A lot of people are going to tell you don't do that. Don't open up 19 tabs, but I'm the type of person, I can't live without opening up at least, I don't know, 6 tabs on the screen, right? So here we go. We got a requester open here. It's pointing to sys user. Maybe I want to put in a ref qual, right? Reference qualifier condition to say like active is true, okay? And you could come up with some other ones too. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit save. And one thing I wanted to show you about like the ref qualifier, which is kind of cool. Like if you ever have to do like an advanced one, because when you're working with service catalog or the portal stuff, you're probably gonna have to do some sort of advanced ref qual sometimes. So one trick that I always do is I'll change it to advanced, and then boom, you see how it creates it right for you right there. So if you learn something, go ahead and click like. But yeah, you can kind of toggle that back and forth. So that way you don't even have to like if you don't know script that well, you can just cut and paste this thing and then put it on the back end, or excuse me, on the front end, right? So there we go, simple. All right, so now we have some other stuff going on. We're not gonna do any choices because it's pulling from the sys user table, so that's good to go. So we'll just say, okay, that's fine. Now we're gonna go to number, and I'm gonna make this solution number. Oops, having a little trouble spelling here. So we have solution number. It's an integer value. I'll just keep it that way, that's fine. And now if I want to do like choices, right? Remember, drop down with none. Okay, ignore the choice table because we're going to create some choices in just a second. So now I'm just going to save it real quick. And then I'm going to go down here when this thing reloads. And I'm going to create some choices. Now remember, all this is on the back end. So we're going to do all our stuff on the back end first. And then after that, we're going to get to how with the click of a button, and I think it's like 3 fields you got to fill in, it'll create the record producer, okay? So here we got label, value, all that stuff. So here I'm just going to put in 1, I don't know, let's do 10. Let's do 5. Whatever, just pick up some random numbers. Now, number 1 is, I want this to be first. I'm just going to leave that blank. Then I'm going to go to 5. I'm going to put in a value of 100. And here I'm going to put in a value 200. Maybe it's a little bit extreme to sequence these out with such wide gaps, but I definitely don't want to do like a 1 and a 2 just in case, you know, what if I add 6, 7, 8, 9, then I'm going to have to go back and, yeah, it's just kind of a pain. So I want a little bit of space there between the numbers. Okay, so we have that. Now request urgency. This is a string field. Now remember I said that we're going to make this a choice. So how do we do that? We're going to do drop down with none. Now we're going to say save, and we're going to go down and do a couple other choices. So let's do this. Let's put in here, like to me it's either critical or it's not. So I want to make up my own called critical, and this one's just going to be standard. Alright, and I think I'm going to make this one 100. Yay, that's done. And I'm still debating whether I want to keep this number like an actual integer or not, but I'm going to give them the values to pick. And that's one of the keys, I think, to creating really great record producers is to not have a bunch of short description fields. Why do I say that? It's because later on, when someone in your organization says, hey, can you run a report on, like, you know, why these people did X, Y, or Z? You know, like, imagine if this request urgency was like, tell us why we should expedite this thing. And they write like a narrative. Well, there's no real way to report on that decently, because you'll probably have to use a bunch of different search terms like important or critical or what. It'll just be a mess. So that's why I always say, like, you have to present this thing like you're going to a restaurant, or you're the owner of a restaurant and you're presenting a menu and you're saying, okay, you can pick from one of these things. And yeah, can you give a little bit of a description when you're telling the waiter your order? Sure, you can do that. All right, so all that's done. We can even take a look at the form now, see how this stuff changed. Let's go to show form. And now we'll see here solution number. Boom, we have our choices there. We can take a look here at, just make sure this thing's populating. Okay, we got some people in there, great. And let's see here, our urgency, standard, critical. Wonderful, so our form on the back end has already been taken care of. So at this point, this is where we're gonna go back to the table. And now we're gonna get to the main event. So now we're gonna scroll down here. And See this add to service catalog? We're going to click on that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up that form again in another window here. I'll put it right next to there. I'll show you why. Because when I click on add to service catalog, all right, so what do I have to do now? I have to design a form again. But this is way better than having to create it once and then create it a second time on the back end. So now I'm just going to call this Aspen, let's see here, Aspen requests, short description, I'm going to put one in, and then category I'm going to put in solutions that matter. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to put out, or put in here a requester. What else do we want? We want to do location. Now you'll see here there's a little plus sign that if we want to dot walk, but I just want to make a point here that there's no dot walking on the front end. So, well, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens and see if we can get this to pull through, but don't think it's going to happen. So now let's go back to our fields here. We want to know what's their urgency, right? Where's the request urgency? And then, I don't know, maybe we want to do that number, I don't know, solution number, let's try to find that. Okay, we got that going now, and I think I want to put this one up here a little bit, and then, yeah, I think we're good to go now. So at this point, I'm going to do save and open. And it's thinking, should this be created or not? Oh, while we're doing that, maybe let's go take a look at our table again real quick here. And now I can answer that question of like, you know, what's the priority field, right? Do we want to know that now? Nah, it looks like it created. So let's go back to, here we go. We're in our record producer. So now what we can do is it in a catalog? It is. It's an AAspennow. And because I placed in that category solutions that matter, it's in there. Great. All right, and look at this. We have our variables here, and you're probably like, okay, you are right. The location, I think country was the field that we tried to add when we dot walked it. It didn't pull it over, so that's one thing to note. So if you want that dot walk ability, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to create a field here and then push. I'll probably have to create one on the back end too, push it that way. You know, it's just something that's going to have to happen if you want them to put in that information, right? All right, so now let's see if we have our choices created too. So let's go to these two. And I feel like, you know, we have to provide evidence here, evidence that this works, right? So look at that. It created our choices also. So with the click of a button, it did all that work that would take us forever to do. It mapped it to the field. We have our choices down here. This looks fantastic, right? We have standard and critical. Perfect. All right, so now, you know, I could even take a look at, if I wanted to, just to see if the requester came out right. Does it have the right table referenced? Let's take a look at that. All right, so we have Aspen requester here. We're going to go to, come on now, taking forever to load. All right, so we'll notice here what, our ref qual didn't come through. That's fine, whatever. We can add that pretty easily. Active is true. I'm gonna hit save. So now we've just created the record producer. And now what we're gonna wanna do is, all right, so here's our record producer. Now maybe we wanna preview it. Might be a good idea. See how this thing renders. So it looks like we have 4 fields right here, but maybe we want to see this thing like on the front end. You know, always check your fields too. I feel like this is like go live prep 101, right? Like just make sure that when you push this thing into prod that everything's displaying. There's nothing worse than when you push this thing out, especially if this stuff's mandatory, right? Which, you know, maybe you want to do a catalog UI policy now just to put a couple of mandatory fields. So let's do that too, right? Let's do a catalog UI policy. Oh, wow. It looks like the new button is not showing. So let's bring it over here. So if you didn't catch that, that's pretty much, it's almost like my go-to move. You two finger click or right click, open this in a new window. And then right here, I have my new button. All right, has it on the item, which is fine. And I'm just gonna put in mandatory fields, right? Or variables, excuse me. Confused about the terminology we're using. Alright, so let's see here. So now we have our catalog policy actions. Again, doesn't look like it's rendering, right? So no big deal. I'm going to flip out into this window. Boom. Alright, so which two do we want to make mandatory? Like, I need to know the person's name, right? Now it's looking for... Okay. It doesn't like it. There's nothing in here. This makes me so sad. Alright, so this is one where I might have to pop up the global to do this. Let's try that. And if it doesn't, no big deal. We can skip this and I'll come back to it another time. But I just wanted to show something that resembles like real life, because that's probably the reason why you come here and we watch this stuff, is that, you know, when you deal with customers all day and they want stuff done, you got to figure out, you know, if you're a good developer, you really want to figure out, here we go, great, the new button showed up. If you're a good developer, you want to figure out the best way and also the most efficient way to get stuff done. All right, does it like it? No, it doesn't want to open it. All right, I'm going to try one more time. If it doesn't open, then no big deal. We'll move on. Is it going to pull? No, it doesn't want to. All right, I'll come back to that later, but no big deal. It's probably something with my instance that's hosed up with that UI action, but I don't have time to fix it right now because I'm teaching you. So anyway, we have our fields out there, but like, let's say I don't, because like when I do this try it, here's the thing, like that's not cool. Like that, the way this thing looks here, not cool at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to Service Portal. I'm going to put it right out there on the portal. So let's go to, do I want to do configuration? I really want to go home, but I think that's not going to take me to where I want to go. So I'm just going to go to AAspennow here. All right, cool. Let's bring this thing up here. And I'll show you why I'm grabbing the sysid in just a second. So let's go find our record producer. Where'd it go? Did I lose it already? Okay. Here's our record producer. I'm gonna wait for this stuff to load. All right, so now let's do copy sysid and let's go find our portal. Okay, yeah, here's our Aspen solution request. Great, but this doesn't link to the one that I want to link to. So what I'm going to do, as you can see, it's not coming to the one that I just created. So let's see here. I'm going to hold down, I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to hold down Control. Then I'm going to do Page and Designer. Wow, this thing's taking its time. So I'm going to get rid of this real quick. All right, our page is coming up. Come on now. There we go. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take the sysid. Hopefully this works. Category is the same as this other one. So I'm going to do save. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick this thing out to yet another window. And yeah, I don't know how many tabs I got going in here, but this isn't even close to setting the record, by the way. Alright. Boom. Okay, so now it's rendering fine. Cool, I like this view a little bit better. You know, did some work on the coloring and all that, the branding of it, if you will. All that stuff's important, especially to your higher level non-technical types. You know, got to have a nice shade of blue and white and all that. So as you can see here, maybe I want to get rid of that Aspen request a little bit later, but I think, you know, this kind of, you know, meets the initial, you know, prototype, if you will. Maybe I can think right here is where I'll need to take this out. Let me take the title out. Sorry about that. Let's try to do, let's click that. All right, I think that's actually going to take out the entire thing, but we'll see. Yeah, it took out that part, so I think I have to go to the actual record producer itself to correct that. All right, so I'm not going to worry about that part of it right now, but basically we have the bare bones. If we need to do like a quick demo on it or whatever, we can go ahead and get that done. Is it going to the right place? Oh, there we go. Now it's going to the right place. So we have this right now in place, so I think we're at a good point. Now if we want to test it out, let's see if we can find me. Let's see if Miami's in here. Yes. I want solution number 1. And the urgency is going to be standard. I'm going to click submit. All right, there's a little thing here. We could do click here to view if we want to. You know, I'm going to clean this stuff up too at some point, but hey, whatever. Then if I want to see if it actually created on the table, then we're going to go back to our table. We can scroll down here. We can do show list. All right, and there you go. And you know, one thing we forgot to do when we created this table, this is like the #1 thing that people always forget to do. Okay, we have to have our display value, right? So let's say I want to have, okay, so we got urgency here. I think I want to do just number. Let's go to column label. Okay, there's number. So I want this to be the display value. Oh, great, it did it for us. Excellent. Sometimes, you know, you're going to have a different display value, so just be aware of that. But it looks like our number is going to be the display value. In the past, I remember that when I created one, I think the display value was like the created date or something like that. So it was kind of weird. But yeah, just make sure you check that. All right, so that's good. And yeah, now what do we, oh yeah, that's right, I almost forgot, we want to check our table, right? So to get to our table, we can do this. We can hit copy and then do this, and then that also. You can do dot list, and as you can see here, the record was created. Now if we drill into it, click number, boom, looks like our value here is good. Standard came through, location, Aspennow requester, right? All right, so it looks like, you know, not exactly a polished gem, but we do have like a working prototype that we can build on. So if you learned something today, feel free to click like, go ahead and share this on social media. My name's Jason Miller, founder of AAspennow Solutions, and we've just unlocked the power of ServiceNow.